All right, so what we're going to be going over in this very first section is pretty much breaking down what exactly Forex is and what you're going to be trading, and just giving you pretty much the overall fundamentals of what market that you're currently getting yourself into. We have a lot of similarities to the stock market itself, but we're not trading stocks, we're trading currencies. It's a way bigger market. It's a more manipulated market. There's a lot of sharks out here in the market, and you need to be able to protect yourself as best as possible. I don't want to get too much into detail. What I'm going to be simply doing is kind of reading off the slides and pretty much breaking down everything and simplifying everything for you as best as I possibly could. I didn't get a PhD in teaching, but I am very knowledgeable in my industry, and I am very knowledgeable in my craft, and I'm here to help you perfect your trading and help you reach your goals and hopefully get you to the level that I'm at. I do have a lot of successful students. The most remarkable ones off the top of my head is my currently 18-year-old student Chow. He's making a full-time living from his parents' house, making 30 grand a month on a funded account. But let's just kind of keep things simple for now. Again, we're going to go over a lot throughout the entire period of the course. I don't want you to get confused, so let's kind of break things down piece by piece. So what Forex actually is pretty much what we're going to cover. Let me get this out of the way. So what we're going to be covering in today's lesson so far, and again, when you're taking the course itself, I don't want you to kind of just skim through it and take everything and kind of, cram all the information, because you're not really going to learn there. Take your time with this program. You have it, you have lifetime access, you have me, lifetime access, if that's how you want to call it. But I want you to take your time with this program. So what we're pretty much going to be covering in this lesson is, one, understanding what the Forex market actually is. Two, what is traded, what types of currencies there are, and the different currency pairs. So let's kind of get right into it. And then obviously we're going to break down your minor and major, your major and minor currency pairs. So what Forex actually is itself, like I said, again, it isn't like the stock market. But when you actually take a Forex trade, what you're simply doing is you're selling one currency and buying another, or vice versa. You're buying one currency and selling another. So pretty much all it simply is, to kind of break it down as best as possible, what you're doing is, when you buy a currency pair, because you're always trading in pairs, what you're simply doing is you're betting that one currency will go up and the other currency is going to go down, right? You can pretty much think of it as, one currency stronger than the other currency. And if you're correct on your overall hypothesis on the market direction and the direction of that currency pair, you will make a profit. Pretty simple. I'm going to, no, I can't. And that's really all it simply is. So typically, if you've ever traveled, you'll usually find a currency exchange booth at either the airport or areas where there's high tourism. Obviously, this is a smart business move for those people, but pretty much when you're going into a new country, your typical, native country doesn't use that same country's currency. So if I were to go to Canada, I'm sure they accept US dollars there, but what I'm going to be doing at the airport is exchanging any cash that I have with me, any US dollars. I'm going to exchange them for Canadian dollars, and you can do that here at the booth here, where you actually will see an actual screen that has the exchange rate, and that is going to be the exchange rate of both currencies together. But typically you're going to be, again, changing your current currency that you hold from your native country to the other currency. So now, like I was talking about the exchange rates previously, so all an exchange rate really is, it's the relative price of the two currencies from the two different countries. So you could think about it as like the median of the two country or the two currencies from those countries, right? It's typically these changes in the exchange rate that allow you to make money in the Forex market. So, if the exchange rate actually increases, let's just say I were to, sell my USD for Canadian dollars, and USD CAD actually goes up and the exchange rate increases. When I go to actually convert my Canadian dollars back to US dollars, I'm going to have, maybe instead of giving me $100, they're going to give me $101, right? And that's if I hold that same amount, right? But now what I want to put is a comparison of what market you're actually getting into here. So we're going to be taking a look at all of the stock markets and then taking a comparison to the Forex market. So currently, as of right now, the Forex market is a $6.6 trillion industry. I just want you to wrap your head around how much money and volume is actually traded. And this is on a day-to-day basis. So if you look at the London Stock Exchange, only $7.2 billion of trading volume. If you look at the Tokyo Stock Exchange, there's only about $18.9 billion worth of trading volume. And then we have the New York Stock Exchange, where there's around $22 billion worth of money that's actually traded in the New York Stock Exchange. Now, if I were to combine and add all the money that's traded in between the London Stock Exchange, the Tokyo Stock Exchange, and the New York Stock Exchange, that still doesn't even compare to how much money is traded here on a daily basis in the Forex market. I'm telling you, this is literally the biggest market that you're getting yourselves into. And like I said, there's going to be lots of sharks, there's lots of whales looking to take your money. So your overall goal in these beginning stages is to preserve your capital as best as possible. Right. So now let's kind of go over, obviously, what is traded. We're not trading companies here. We're not trading stocks. We're trading physical currencies themselves. Now, with, the Forex platforms, typically like MetaTrader 5, CTrader, those are typically like currency pair platforms. You could still trade like stocks, indices, cryptos, depending on the broker that you choose, which we'll go over recommended brokers and everything else later on. But typically, the answer is pretty simple. We're trading currencies here. And, again, with currencies being traded, you're trading a lot larger of a market. So when you're actually trading itself, you can think of buying a currency, or you can think of buying a currency as buying a share in a particular country, just like buying shares of a company, or, buying stocks in general, right? So now let's kind of go over some of the basic currency symbols. So everything is going to be referred to in symbols. There's not going to be, US dollar versus Canadian dollar. Everything is going to be in symbols, especially, when you go on your trading view, which is going to be your platform that you mark up. When you go on your brokerage, MetaTrader 5, MetaTrader 4, whatever the case may be, everything is in symbols. So typically the first symbol is going to be the country name, and then obviously it's going to be the currency name. So NZD is going to be the New Zealand dollar. Very basic. It's very basic understanding here. So now let's go over the major currencies. Obviously, most of us know the major currencies from around the world. So we have USD, the US dollar, we have the euro. It's the entire, it's all of Europe. We have the JPY, which typically is going to be in Japan, or we have the yen. But in Forex, we refer to as the yen as the JPY. GBP, we have the Great Britain pound, and it's referred to as a pound. Very, basic analysis here of, how we refer to these different currencies from these different countries. Everything else is going to be referred to as dollar unless you're trading CHF. Now, what exactly is a currency pair? Now, like I said previously, currencies are always traded in pairs. So your first currency is going to be here, like going back to our main screen here. We have the Great Britain pound. We have the GBP. Like I said, everything is referred to almost broken down a little bit. It's not a whole exact word. It's just kind of syllables, right? So we have the base currency pair, which is going to be your first pair here, right? This is always going to be your base currency pair. This is what you're going to see first. This is typically where you're going to be betting this pair against. Right, so we have the base currency pair, or the pair, or the currency you are buying when you actually trade the Forex pair, right? And then we have the quote currency, or the currency that you are selling when you trade the Forex pair. So if I'm going to be trading GBP, JPY, and you perform your technical analysis, and based off your technical analysis, you decide to actually buy GBP, JPY. What you're doing is buying GBP and selling the USD. Now, vice versa, typically there's no USD GBP pair, but if you were to have the USD as the base currency and the quote currency as GBP, again, you can think of base as number one, and then, quote as number two, right? You're going to be selling the USD and then buying the GBP if the roles were reversed here. So I hope everybody gets that concept. It's fairly similar. Again, your base currency is the one you're buying, and your quote currency is the one you're going to be selling. So now, what are currency pairs? Breaking it down a little bit more in depth. So the Forex market is always going to be quoted in currency pairs. Like I said, you're never going to just trade a single currency, right? Now, the price for the pair is how much the quote currency costs to buy at the unit of the base currency. I don't want to make things too complicated. So basically all you're simply looking at is, again, is the exchange rate, and the price of the currency pair is what you're looking at is the exchange rate itself, and it's the median of both currencies combined, right? The base currency and the quote currency. Now, when you're actually trading Forex, like I said, you're buying one and selling the other. And then when it comes down to the actual currency pair and we look at the price, again, this is going to be the exchange rate. And all we're simply going to be doing is looking at this price, and we're going to be referring to our levels and everything off of this price. This is the exchange rate price. Again, the median of both of these currencies quoted. This is where this number comes from. Again, referring back to our initial example of the exchange rate. Now, you're going to have your major currencies, and then you're going to have your minor currency pairs, right? So typically your major currencies are going to be like the US dollar. Your major currencies, you're going to have way more volume, meaning bigger moves, more volume. You could potentially make more money, but keep in mind, more volume, you can also lose more money. So starting off, I recommend you guys maybe try trading the minor currency pairs. You could definitely start off on the major currency pairs, but just know that things happen a lot faster, a lot quicker, and the moves are a lot bigger. So all you simply have to do is adjust your risk. So the major currency pairs are the most liquid in the world. Like I said, there's a lot more volume traded in the major currency pairs versus the minor currency pairs, which means that these will have the most activity, right? The major currency pairs will contain the USD on the side. So Euro USD, in this situation, again, breaking down what I said, base and quote currency pairs, right? Euro in this situation is our base, USD is our quote currency pair, right? In this situation, the USD is our base currency pair and the JPY is our quote currency pair, right? But normally, typically, the currency pairs that have the most volume are going to be the US dollar. Along with that being said, these are also going to be the most manipulated pairs in the market, right? Market manipulation does happen, and typically we see it with the US dollar involved. So you can take a look at the major currency pairs here. Now, your minor currency pairs typically don't contain the US dollar, and typically you're not going to see as much movement in price than your major currency pairs. Even though they are not as frequently traded as the major currency pairs, they are still liquid enough to provide great trading opportunities for you guys. You can still definitely benefit off of them. You can still definitely make a lot of money off of them as well. You're going to have pairs that have a little bit more volatility or volume traded versus, other pairs, right? Now, typically these are going to be your minor currency pairs, which are going to be the Euro Swiss, the Euro GBP, pretty much anything that doesn't have the US dollar involved. Now, that being said, the second most largest traded currency is going to be the Great Britain pound. So GBP, JPY, I would consider that to be a high volatile pound. We can get into all that later on. And then, you have your euro crosses, you have your yen crosses, and then you have your pound crosses. Now, again, trading a pair like GBP USD, is going to be very volatile. Now, hopefully, guys did understand this, the very first section. I didn't want to give you guys an overload of information to complicate things. Now, hopefully, you did take a lot of notes. Again, take your time with the course. And again, you can always reach out to me whenever you have any questions. I don't think this was maybe too complicated, but definitely we have to go over the basics and the foundation first before we can get into more, the more fun stuff, learning about trading like price action. So I'll talk to everybody in the next section.